Hey guys, King of Charmander's here. Today I'll be a judge, jury, and your execution. Wait, no, that's where I got the quote from. Judge, jury, and analyst. There you go. I forgot which movie I got that from, but you know what? It's like, okay, you know, if you've ever watched Man in Black, any of them, you know the little like forgetting thing. Just like I don't have like a flash mode on the video, but you know, just forget I said that. I'm not here to execute anyone. Well, except everyone's ELO, and that's not your ELO, your opponent's ELO, because I'm about to give you my top 5 budget teams for Ultra Premier Cup in Season 8. So I did a little bit of research. I tried to really take on and did a little bit of practice with teams from before and some teams now, and actually one team that happens to be extremely budgety but also extremely powerful for Ultra Premier Cup. Now for Season 8, if you're looking to save dust, or if you don't want to use the latest and greatest XLs that are out there because you don't have them like I do, I don't have a pancake. As much as I love IHOP and Denny's, I do not have a cinnamon pancake, bear trap, whichever one you call it, the flip-flop that will, yeah, I'm talking about Galarian. Anyways, if you would like to contribute to People.com, please do so down here, right here. And again, this is for Ultra Premier. Ultra Premier is very interesting because it has it's shake up quite a bit with the poison buff and with, believe it or not, if they happen to unban it, Pidgeot XL is actually pretty dope as well. But again, this is budget teams, so no XLs, no legendaries already, no legendaries or mythicals, and I don't have XLs. These are very budget-like teams, costing about 100k dust for the second move. But again, these are teams that do very, very well and will serve you well. And like I said, I did quite a little bit of research, so hopefully they help you out. Anyways, let's get started. Alright, team number 1 is Empoleon, Lead, Machamp, and Venusaur. So this is a very interesting team because I don't think this team really has a safe switch. I think the play here is to do as much damage as you can with Empoleon and sweep with Machamp and Venusaur in the back. Machamp is not a fantastic safe switch, so if you happen to lose lead against Empoleon, as in something's punching you in the face, again, just come out with shield advantage, and I'm pretty sure this team's about sacking your lead, because like I said, I don't think Machamp's a great safe switch. You could safe switch into Venusaur or give it a shot, but Venusaur isn't really a great safe switch. There's a lot of things you can do with this team, but again, I see it a lot of farming down Empoleon or like sacking Empoleon altogether, breaking shields, and coming out to farm with Machamp or with Venusaur and to do a lot of heavy damage to your opponent. This is one of the top teams in Season 7. As you see, it has good coverage, not a lot of bulk. You're not going to see a lot of bulk when you have a Machamp on your team. Pretty safe, however, but extremely consistent. So this team's going to do a ton of damage over time. As you see here, what makes this team very, very interesting is that Empoleon doesn't do well against a lot of combinations. As you see here, there's a lot of leads that will eventually truck Empoleon to oblivion. Things that resist waterfall, and also things that punch Empoleon in the face. So if you've ever watched Mortal Kombat, you know, well, actually, how about this? Cyborg, there you go. You ever watched the new DC movie with like how Cyborg gets punched in the face or whatnot? That's pretty, you know, that's a bad analogy, never mind, and I don't want to get copyrighted. So, no more talking about other superhero franchises whatsoever, especially the one that starts with D, which you probably know what I'm talking about. You know, they made some pretty sweet childhood movies, but I you know, they're also very, very predatory, so I don't want them to go after me, so enough mention about that. Anyways, as you see here, as we go down, Empoleon, like I said, is very, very interesting. Mostly because there's a lot of things that will like pressure you, but I think the play with Empoleon is to essentially just sacrifice it. Again, Empoleon's play here is to literally get sacked to death, and then you probably can like try to realign with Machamp and Venusaur, farm it down, and then throw the energy in the back. Just because this team doesn't really have a safe switch, that is a kind of strategy where you don't have a safe switch and you kind of sacrifice the lead. This is one of those teams that does that. If you don't like this team, there are other teams out there, but Empoleon, Machamp, and Venusaur did rate positively in the Season 7 Ultra Premier Cup ranking. So this team actually will get you W's. But like I said, if you don't like this one, you don't like the sacrifice the lead strategy, which I've done a little bit before, And actually, that was my Season 1 team, where my Mega Beam Team, my legendary Get Beam team, literally had no safe switch. So, I've used the strat before. Very high threat score, but again, it's pretty much just pretty simplistic. Either switch into Machamp or just sack Empoleon and then go to town with your back row. Pretty high threat score. Cheap on the dust if you have all the components on this team though. Empoleon and Venusaur are community moves, and of course Machamp had a community already, so these Pokemon aren't very hard to find, or you already have them. Alright, the next team is Charizard, Kingdra, and Machamp. So this features Shadow Champ and a Kingdra save switch. You could use regular Machamp in its place, but this is basically, you know, Kingdra, you flip a coin. And you know what? It's not like the Matrix. If you watch the Matrix has 2 pills. You pick the red or the blue pill. No, you don't have a choice, because you know why? It's a coin flip. You don't pick pills, you pick your coin, you flip it, and 50-50 if you get the debuff. That's why everybody loves Kingdra. Or if you get really lucky and Kingdra debuffs, then you're likely going to flip the matchup. If they debuff, or if you're in the mirror, you debuff them, they don't debuff you for the first time. As you see here, Charizard, this is a wing attack Charizard. You can use Fire Spin. This team just features Wing Attack. Again, this was one from a Season 7 top team. It's very strong. You don't have to use Wing Attack Charizard. Again, you could use Dragon Breath, etc. Wing Attack does give you good play against fighters, but again, you can use Dragon Breath, etc. Wing Attack just gives you a really great match and allows you to gather energy quickly. So, Wing Attack, very interesting moveset. Not a lot of coverage, good coverage, not a lot of bulk, because Charizard isn't super bulky here, nor is Machamp. Good safety, good consistency. Well, that's because you're using Kingdra Safe Switch. But as you see here, this team is very, very powerful with Wing Attack against Swamp. Okay, so there's several choices you could do with Charizard. With Charizard, you could try to you can outright just play out the matchup. But what makes it so powerful is that you get stabbed with Wing Attack, and with Wing Attack, you charge energy quickly, and you're still able to hit like water types for neutral damage. It's not resisted by because you're not using fire, it's not resisted, etc. However, it does give you a little bit of a problem if you're facing steel types like Magezone, etc. Can be a little bit of an issue, so just keep that in mind. Even though Wing Attack is good, steel types will give you a hard time, so just keep that in mind. But this features Kingdra Safe Switch and Machamp as your closer. Pretty generic team, not too hard to run, and like I said, super generic. Your biggest weaknesses, of course, are going to be electric types, very likely. As you see here, things like Nidoqueen, Electivire, Dragonite, etc. With Wing Attack, though, in the 2-shield, you can threaten Dragonite just because of Dragon Claw. So you do have Dragon Claw, and with Wing Attack, like I mentioned before, the reason why it's kind of ordered this way is because from before, what normally you wouldn't hit, normally what wouldn't hit you, basically is, yeah. So, basically, it's just because of Wing Attack. And because you have Wing Attack Zard, it causes as you see here, the list is a little weird, but it makes sense. Just because Wing Attack Charizard generates energy quickly, and the matchups kind of flip around. You could even sacrifice Charizard. You could choose to sack Charizard, farm down with Machamp. Or like I said, you could do the generic Kingdra Safe Switch and just realign properly. Very interesting team, and if you have a Wing Attack Zard, that's perfect. If you don't have a Wing Attack Zard, it's perfectly fine. There's another team here that features Charizard, but Wing Attack, this team doesn't matter Wing Attack Zard. So if you do have one, you probably likely already have Kingdra if you play Ultra Premier a lot because it's that good. And you probably have a Machamp already. Again, regular Machamps can substitute for Shadow Champ if you really like this team. But if you don't like it, there are other options out there. But good budget team here. Old, tested, and true. And the only thing is, again, it's a Wing Attack Charizard, so you might spend Elite TM. But if you don't want to spend the Elite TM, there's another team out here that you might interest you if you really like Charizard. Alright, next we got Venusaur, Empoleon, Gallade. This uses Gallade Safe Switch. Venusaur's your lead, Empoleon's your closer. 2 Pokemon with their community moves, cheap, and Gallade's been one of the strongest safe switches since Ultra Premier Printers came out. So Gallade is here to stay, and it's been out forever. You can tell I'm not too thrilled just because I've seen this is the same thing over and over again, but you know what? You need budget. Budget you shall have. This team has good coverage, not great bulk, and it's pretty safe because Gallade Safe Switch, but extremely consistent. So this team's going to do a lot of damage. What I really like about this team is you're still going to see Swampert lead, or the Water lead, etc. a lot. So Venusaur still does very well as a lead. Gallade is your safe switch. Gallade will either break shields, or if you're able to close combat through shields, it's going to do heavy damage and allow you to take back switch. And of course, you have the all-powerful Emperor Penguin, not as Emperor, well, you ever seen Happy Feet? Well, Empoleon has like a metal mask, so it's more like Jason Voorhees rather than a Happy Feet, you know, from that one movie. Anyways, that movie was a long time ago. If you remember, you remember. If you don't remember, it's okay. But as you see here, Venusaur is very, very powerful in the lead still. Does a lot of damage. You can bully your way through a Berserker through the 2 shields. You even threaten Magezone just because Frenzy Plant does so much damage. Even if it's resisted, like against something with like Magezone or Berserker, Frenzy Plant will do a ton of damage still. Your biggest problem is probably flyers, like Dragonite is probably your biggest problem, or things like Staraptor and Mandibus. But again, the it's still you'll do a ton of damage unless it's double resisted like Dragonite. So Dragonite does double resist Frenzy Plant, so just keep in mind you're not gonna do a ton of damage. You'll still do a decent chunk, like it's gonna hurt poor Barney. Orange Barney or Shiny Barney, whichever one you bring, the regular shiny version, it will take a little bit of damage. Otherwise, if you do have enough energy, you may Sludge Bomb it to death. So, again, very, very powerful. High on the threat score spectrum, but Gallade overall is a very powerful safe switch. Does really well against a lot of combinations. And if you close out with Empoleon, Hydrocan just does so much work, and Drill Peck allows it to cover its weaknesses. So, if you used this team before, guess what? It's still really good. And Venusaur, Empoleon, and Gallade, it's a very generic team, also very strong. One of the cheaper teams on this list, just because Gallade's been out for a while, Empoleon and Venusaur only cost 10k dust to second move. So, again, very strong team, and it will serve you well in Ultra Premier Cup. It's also one of the old-standing top teams in Season 7, so statistically, I still see it doing extremely well, even with the poison buff, assuming you do not see a Nidoqueen in the lead. But if that happens, just safe switch, and then close out with Empoleon or Venusaur. You know the deal. Safe switch, Gallade, close combat through fields, punch things in the face, and then realign. Alright, the next team you might recognize, this is Yonkis' team. He dominated a lot with this team, and I still think it does really well. It actually was the second most powerful team in Season 7, and has ranked in the top teams for a long time, just because of, you know, Magezone is just a beast. Well, I've seen a lot of people use Magna Lead or Shadow Magna Lead, and just because Wild Charge does so much damage, Gallade is such a fantastic safe switch, and Venusaur is an incredibly powerful closer. This team will still do very well for you. I don't need to describe it much. If you recognize this team, you probably already know how to use it, or you already tried it. As you see here, this team has great coverage at the sacrifice of bulk. Extremely safe team. This team will be safe against a ton of combinations. Gallade safe switch, and then you can nuke everything with Magezone or farm down with Venusaur. Either one works. And it's really consistent, even with the newer meta increase. As you see here, your biggest problem will be probably Swampert and G-Fisk in the lead. In fact, Magezone is one of the sole reasons why Swampert and Galar and Stunfisk work as leads, just because you are able to wall it. Something you do have to be careful, though, is that the new Poison-type debuff, Nidoqueen, will give you a hard time because it does resist Wild Charge, so just keep that in mind. Yes, you resist it, but the thing about it is it doesn't feel good when a Nidoqueen can possibly one-shot you with Earth Power, or it can, if you shield a baited debuff, or if they hit you with a Poison Fang while you're already debuffed, so it can be a really rough time. Very powerful team. Again, Gallade safe switch, Venusaur sort of close out, and it's very generic. Still will work really, really well. If you lose the lead with Magezone, safe switch to Gallade, or you could sack Gallade, Magezone all together. You could fire Wild Charge, get shield advantage, safe switch into Gallade, sack Magezone in the lead, and then run through with Gallade Venusaur. This team's very, very flexible and extremely powerful. Like I said, if you used it before, it's actually a pretty good budget team. I would name it budget just because of the fact that these three have been out for a while. And if you have these three and you can build it, this team will do really well if you're kind of confused at what to use, and something that will do extremely well for you. Now, this team is very, very strong, except for the next one I'm going to show you, which actually is like budget and actually has done really well for a lot of really good and top players that I know. Alright, and now the most budgety team out there, and a team that actually is surprisingly extremely powerful, is in fact Charizard, Swampert, safe switch, Venusaur to close out. Now you're probably wondering, like, wow, this team's like really RPS. Well, the reason being is because the reason why it does so well is because all these Pokemon do a ton of damage over time. And the thing about Charizard is that you can actually sack Charizard, and with Dragon Breath Charizard, you could use Dragon Breath, you could use Fire Spin. With Dragon Breath Zard, you can actually beat Dragonite in the lead. So you beat a lot of interesting combinations in the lead. Swampert and Venusaur also are able to do heavy damage with Hydro Cannon and with Frenzy Plant. So triple Community Day moves are extremely powerful. And this, I've actually used this team a lot before. It's really, really good. I do believe it. I know a lot of players on social media actually use this budget team, and they really like it. It's actually gotten them like really high, at least to like to expert, to veteran, or even make legend with it. So I think I know one person that made legend with this team, and again, they like, from their opinion and from my own personal like experience with it, you can use Dragon Breath, you can use Fire Spin, you can use Wing Attack, but the play is here is to either one, sacrifice Charizard or get shield advantage, and then you can swap into Swampert, Venusaur. This team is extremely powerful. As you see here, great coverage, great safety, and great consistency. Not a lot of bulk just because of Charizard, but either way, this team is going to do a ton of damage over time. If you look at the meta standpoint here, well, as you see, Venusaur and Swampert can possibly cover the back row. Now, if you don't have Fire Spin, you still do well against Obama Snow just because you have Dragon Claw, and Dragon Breath does a ton of damage over time. So, again, just Fire Spin, like, you could use Fire Spin, you could use Dragon Breath. Either one works. But as you see here, this team is actually very interesting. With Dragon Breath Zard, you do beat dragons in the lead. So you will beat Dragonite, and you will beat Kingdra if you do get led against it. Unless, of course, the infamous Octazooka debuff happens. But you know what? This is why Charizard, if you look here, Charizard does a lot against a lot of top meta picks. With a score of 684. Now, the reason you want to run Dragon Breath is because with Dragon Breath, you could take on Talonflame in the 2-shield. You could take on a lot of combinations in the 2-shield. That's why, as you see here, a lot of things that do beat you, you can also beat, you'll also beat Dragaggle. So, someone that does have a Dragaggle XL, you can burn it down with Dragon Breath. The great thing about Dragon Breath, too, is that a lot of things that Charizard would normally be resisted by Charizard, Dragon Breath does neutral damage. Like on Talonflame, other Charizards, you'll do, if you get the mirror against other Charizards, you will do neutral damage with Dragon Breath. So, again, that's another justification to use Dragon Breath. But for this team, again, Charizard, if you have your choice of which movesets, but you can sack Charizard, then clean up with Swampert and Venusaur to close out the match. Like I said, I know this team is very budgety. It looks RPS on paper, but there's actually a lot of things you can do, and this team works against a lot of combinations. And it, as super budget, but it does extremely well. I actually featured this team on my last budget pick team, and I still believe that this team, you are strapped for cash, or you have no idea what you're doing, this is a very, very friendly team. And it will serve you well in Ultra Premier Cup if you decide to use it. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, these teams, some of these teams are actually top teams from Season 7. I tested them out, ran a few sims, and I'm like, these teams can still do extremely well. Again, the top team I presented to you, the triple starter team, actually does really good and a lot, like, it actually does really well. So if you want like a brand new player, you have Charizard, Swampert, Venusaur, you're not level 4 yet, that combination will do really well even against the buffed meta that came out. So this team will do, that team will do very good. I try to put as many 10k mons here as possible, but I was really, like, when I was practicing and trying to put stuff together, this was a really iffy, like, Season 8 was a really iffy meta, so I really try to put something together that works. And I found out that a lot of teams with starters or budget picks for Ultra Premier can still really work. Particularly the number 1 team. Like I mentioned before, if all else fails and you do not have a lot of starters, or if you have all 3 of those Pokemon built, that team can serve you very well in Ultra Premier Cup or Season 8 Ultra League. Now, as I always say, for those of you that subscribed, I really do appreciate you. You guys are awesome. And for everybody that is not subscribed, if you would please do me a huge favor, it's totally free. If you go to the bottom right, so by the time you are done listening to my voice, if you put your mouse over that little box right there that says subscribe, it will easily pop up the sub tab and you can easily subscribe. So all you have to do is put your mouse over it and then click subscribe and poof, you shall be subscribed. It's that simple, it's easy, it's free, like I said, totally really supports the channel and helps me with my sub goals. So really do appreciate you guys. Again, make sure you guys like and subscribe if you would like to. Hopefully these teams do help you out. If you have any questions, just put in the comments. I hope you guys are doing well for your Go Battle League sets. Again, hopefully this team, I hope this video does help you out. A lot of teams are tried and true, and they will do very well for you in Season 8 Ultra Premier Cup. Again, good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.